Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on Toned In Entertainment, where we're talking all things pop culture. But today, it's time for the AEW Dynamite report for October 9th, 2019. Week 2 is in the books, and I have to say, guys, I'm so excited to have wrestling back on TNT. AEW is doing something that I've been waiting for a long time to have, and we had some really great matches this week. We had the Young Bucks versus Private Party in the tag team tournament. We had a really good women's match. We had Shawn versus Moxley. We had a main event with Dustin, Rhodes, and Hangman Paige versus Jericho and Sammy Guevara. I mean, how much more can you ask for? Now let's get into the report and let's see how well AEW did in week 2. Now last week here on the channel, I did a video of my hopes and concerns for AEW moving forward. And one of my concerns was that maybe the Good Old Boys Club would show back up and that guys like the Young Bucks, Cody, and Kenny Omega would get all the belts just because they were kind of running the show. But as we start off this tag team tournament, things didn't necessarily go that way, and that's a good thing. Now the Young Bucks started off the tag team tournament versus the Private Party of Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy. And let me tell you, Quinn and Cassidy, these guys are extremely talented. Now there was a lot of back and forth going on, and then there was one spot where Quinn just goes crazy. He leaps out of the ring, back and forth, over the top rope several times, doing all kinds of crazy stunts. And let me tell you, the crowd was completely into this. And then once he was done with that, he went up and hit a 450 splash, and the crowd was all the way behind Private Party, believe it or not, in this match. Even though the Young Bucks are much better known, the crowd was still really behind these young guys of the Private Party and wanted them to get the win. I mean, the crowd chants of Private Party were really loud here. There was one spot in the match where I actually thought Isaiah Cassidy may have actually got injured when Matt flips over the top rope and he grabs him into a powerbomb and powerbombs him on the outside ramp. I mean, either he was pretty banged up or he did a really good job of selling that back injury the rest of the match. Now during this match, I mean, it was so intense. There were so many great spots. And again, talking about that crowd, there were chants of, "This is awesome," and also a "This is wrestling" chant going on throughout the match. Now Matt continues to be impressive from the Young Bucks. He hits 3 suplexes, and then the other member of Private Party comes in and Matt suplexes both of them at the same time. Again, the crowd's so into this first match, they start to chant, "Fight forever." Now there's an awesome double team move here where Private Party hits one of the Bucks with a Hurricane Rana off the top right into the cutter, or the diamond cutter as most people know it as. Now, truthfully, I would have been happy with whomever won this match, but the fact that Private Party got the big win over the Young Bucks in the first round of the tag team tournament, I think it really says something that they're not going with the Good Old Boys Club, that they're not just going to put belts on the Young Bucks just because they're the most known, that they're going to give the talent equal opportunity to shine. Now, directly after this match, it was time for Jericho and his group of thugs to come out, and we find out that these guys have a name, and they're calling themselves the Inner Circle. Now, as Jericho's introducing his crew of Santana and Ortiz and Sammy Guevara, he also introduces Jake Hagar, and then the people start with a chant of "We the People." Now Jericho gets on the mic and he says, "Hey, that's dead, and it wasn't a good gimmick to begin with, and it was the idea of bad creative." Now I have to agree with Chris Jericho here, chanting those old gimmicks of "We the People," and especially hearing stuff like Y2J. I've been at 2 AEW shows and I've heard people say Y2J, and he'll tell people, "Hey, Y2J, that's dead," and I have to agree with him 100%. That gimmick was like 18 years ago. "We the People," that's old news too. Let's move on. It's AEW now in 2019. Let's let these guys have their new spotlight to shine. And I'm also loving the fact that AEW is TV-14, because now they can kind of talk how they should be talking, how grown men would talk to another man if he says he was going to fight them. Because live on TV, Jericho says he's going to beat the shit out of Cody Rhodes. Now, after they announce their name as the Inner Circle, Jim Ross kind of says, "Hey, they're going to have to get those t-shirts printed up." Well, coincidentally, if you go to AEW's Instagram page, right away, they had the shirts already printed up. So you can get your Inner Circle t-shirt already, coincidentally. All right, our next match, Jimmy Havoc versus Darby Allen. Now this match would determine who would be the #1 contender for next week's AEW Dynamite show against Chris Jericho. Now, I have to say that both of these guys are really good right now, but they still need some more polishing. But I do think that Darby Allen is just a step above Havoc, at least of right now. Now, during this match, Havoc presents most of the offense. He hits Darby Allen with a brutal suplex out onto the floor. But Havoc does some weird stuff here that actually I'm not a big fan of, like the whole torture thing. Like, he's biting Havoc's finger, he's bending his finger back. I mean, I know it's his gimmick. For me, I'd rather see more wrestling than these torture type maneuvers, but I understand it's his gimmick, so I'm gonna go with it for now. And Jimmy Havoc really continues his onslaught of offense on Darby Allen through most of the match. He hits him with a Death Valley driver into the turnbuckle. Now Darby Allen loves to go for that coffin drop as his finishing maneuver or as a move to really punish his opponents. Now I've seen him miss it several times, and when he hits himself on the edge of that ring apron and misses, it looks extremely painful. But let me tell you, when he hits this move at the end of the match, it really looked graceful and it looked like a really cool finishing maneuver. Now as Darby Allen hits Jimmy Havoc with that coffin drop, he gets the 1, 2, 3 and he moves on to face Chris Jericho next Wednesday. Next up, we have our women's tag team match of Emi Sakura and Bea Priestley versus Riho, the AEW Women's Champion, and her tag team partner, Dr. Britt Baker. Now I find it interesting that they put Riho and the Doctor, Britt Baker, together in a tag team. I mean, I know they tagged together before and they came up unsuccessful in their match at Fight for the Fallen, but last week during Riho's match with Nyla Rose, where she won the world title, the Doctor was doing commentary and she let it known that she was coming for Riho's title at the end. Now when the match starts, the crowd is completely behind Riho. I mean, the chants are extremely loud. I can hear them loud and clear sitting on my couch. But for poor Riho, she's so tiny and so small, Emi Sakura really just manhandles Riho for the first part of the match. Now we get a brawl between Priestley and Baker outside the ring, and I'm assuming they're setting up for a big feud with them coming down the road. Now Riho might be small and everybody talks about it week in and week out, but when she gets firing on all cylinders, she's like a little buzzsaw and she kind of runs right over Sakura during this match. Now Dr. Britt Baker has Emi Sakura in like an arm lock submission move, but Sakura's not giving up, so Britt Baker plays off her whole dentist role and adds in a mandible claw as well, going off the theory that, she can break your teeth in one day and fix them the next. Then after the match, they announce that Britt Baker is going to wrestle Riho for the AEW Women's title next Wednesday on Dynamite. Now our next match is the chairman Shawn Spears versus Jon Moxley. Now, I think AEW is doing some pretty cool stuff here because during the commercial break, instead of just kind of waiting for the commercials to finish, if you went to the Instagram, they had a video of Jon Moxley coming out of the locker room, so it kind of keeps you in the zone of what's going on in AEW. When the match starts, Moxley attacks like a pit bull. Spears is chopping Moxley, but Moxley seems to be having the time of his life, and he encourages Shawn Spears to chop him more. Now, Moxley is way over with the crowd here. Now there's a spot when Jon Moxley gets thrown to the outside and Tully Blanchard does what a Four Horsemen would do, and he causes some chaos, laying a pummeling on Moxley outside of the ring. The two really continue to beat the crap out of each other both inside and out. And while they're fighting outside the ring, Shawn Spears hits Moxley with a really punishing move, sending Moxley going headfirst into the guardrail. Now technically this was Jon Moxley's first official match in AEW. Yes, he had a match at Fyter Fest with Joey Janela, but when that match happened, the lights went out and they said it was unsanctioned so that AEW couldn't be liable for anything that would happen during the match. And when Jon Moxley actually came out to the ring, they said his record was 0-0, or at least they had a graphic up of that. So Jon Moxley during this match, he does get Shawn Spears, he hits him with the jumping DDT, and Moxley now is officially 1-0 in AEW. Now after the match, Kenny Omega comes out of the ramp and has a couple of items like a broom and a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire. Now I think they're hinting that Moxley and Omega's match at the pay-per-view is probably going to be a no-holds-barred match. Now it's time for the main event. We've got two members of the Inner Circle, Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, facing off with Adam Hangman Page and Dustin Rhodes. Now I have to be perfectly honest, the first couple times I saw Adam Page, I thought he was good, but I just wasn't overwhelmed with him. But let me tell you, week after week and match after match, he continues to impress me more and more, and I really do think that Adam Page is going to be a big star coming in the future. And let's talk about Dustin Rhodes. Dustin Rhodes, let me tell you, Dustin, you still got it. Now, the announcers compare Hangman Page to Barry Windham at the beginning of the match, and I think that's a compliment. BW was such an amazing talent, but I never thought Barry Windham really fulfilled his destiny of becoming a mega superstar like Ric Flair, Hogan, or Sting were back in the days. And seeing Hangman and Dustin Rhodes now tagging almost 25 years later kind of gives those fans who watched WCW back in the days a little bit of nostalgia. Now, this match is more of a fight than an actual wrestling match. I mean, Dustin Rhodes, he's just pummeling away his opponents. And like I said earlier, Hangman Page continues to impress me. Not only is he very strong, but he's so quick and agile for a man his size. Now, here's one of the things I'm still kind of iffy on, and that's Jake Hager. I mean, I know he only debuted last week, but he's just kind of playing that like muscle guy, that drone for Jericho right now. I'm not really sure how I feel about that because they're always talking about how much of a beast he is in MMA, and why isn't he going for the world title if he's such a beast? Why is he only a higher goon? I mean, I guess we have to see how things are going to unravel over the weeks to come. Now, Dustin gets Jericho in quite the predicament, and just when you think Dustin's going to put a hurting on Jericho, it's Jake Hager that comes in and clobbers Dustin, allowing Jericho to hit the Judas effect and get the win for the Inner Circle. Now, after the match, the Inner Circle is pummeling away on poor Dustin Rhodes, and then the lights go completely off, and standing in the middle of the ring is Cody Rhodes. Now, I expected Cody Rhodes to come down and save his brother, but I think when you turn the lights out and you reveal somebody in the ring, I think it needs to be kind of like a surprise. Everybody expected Cody to come out and save his brother, and I think, honestly, it was a little over dramatic, and when the lights went out, I was hoping for a big reveal, and it was just Cody Rhodes, but hey, it is what it is. Now, as they continue to pummel down now on Cody Rhodes, MJF comes out to the ring with a chair, and it looks like MJF at one point might hit Cody over the head with the chair, but he does what he should do as Cody Rhodes' best friend and continues to pummel up on Jericho and the Inner Circle. But again, the Inner Circle gets a hand, and now Darby Allen comes out to the ring with his skateboard and everything, setting up a little teaser and a little preview for next week's AEW Dynamite show where Darby Allen's going to fight Jericho for the title. Alright guys, so what did you think about AEW Dynamite's second week on TNT? I have to say, I think I enjoyed week 2, even a little bit more than I did week 1. I thought every match was solid, and I liked the direction of a lot of the matches. Again, I thought the only thing that was a little over dramatic was turning off the lights and revealing Cody Rhodes coming out to save his brother. But other than that, I thought the show was excellent. I'm going to give it an A. Last week I gave it an A-. I'm giving this one an A because I actually thought this week was better than last week, and I cannot wait for next week to come. All right, guys, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you thought was great about AEW. Good, okay, or even bad. Leave me a comment. There's no censorship here. I want to know your guys' thoughts on AEW Dynamite. All right, guys, make sure you subscribe here to Toned In Entertainment for future videos.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.